Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You are attending a meeting organized by the Justice for All initiative, the judicial reform right now, when and why. We would like to thank all of you for attending this meeting, the institutions concerned by the reform, the MPs involved in this topic. Each and every attendance is a sign of goodwill for reforms. We are particularly thankful for the fact that representatives of EU member states, the ambassadors of Ireland His Excellency Patrick Coleman. We are expecting His Excellency the Ambassador of France, the Embassy of Germany, the UK Embassy, the Embassy of the Czech Republic. We are also particularly honored to have live streaming with the Spanish Commission. Mr. Gianni Bucchicchio is following our meeting live. We are very grateful to the National Assembly for hosting this meeting. This is not only to the convenience of the esteemed members of the Parliament and the particular importance of the upcoming parliamentary debate, the second reading of the draft amendments. We have been saying and affirming that the still existing gap between the civil society with its opinions, views and expertise, and on the other hand the political elite. This is a gap that needs to be closed. This will be the way forward for Bulgaria's stable development. We have been nourishing the best of hopes that the sweet memories of the past will get out of fashion. Thank you to all of you for honouring our invitation. I would like to give the floor to Mr. Ivan Ivanov, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, who is hosting this event. Thank you, Minister of Justice, Your Excellencies, representatives of various embassies in Bulgaria, members of Parliament, representatives of various institutions, attendees representing non-governmental organizations. Welcome to the National Assembly, to all of you. Welcome to the upcoming discussion on the judicial reform. The judicial reform now, when and why. This is a topic that has been in the public space for a long time. All of us to believe that unless we ensure the judicial reform, we can hardly ensure the reforms in any other sectors that are relevant to the national economy and our standards of living. We do believe that we need this judicial reform. The issue on the agenda, however, is how we, the 43rd legislature, that has been making a lot of efforts in order for the judicial reform to head along the right line. As you know, the National Assembly, at the very beginning of its term of office, voted on an updated strategy for the judicial reform. The process underway now is related to the draft amendments to the Constitution. We are in for the second reading of these draft amendments. Probably the Judicial System Act, the draft of the Judicial System Act is already available. I'm saying all of these so that I have the best of hopes that by means of sustainable legislative efforts, we will be able to do so that everybody, all the citizens, will have the feeling of justice prevailing across the country. You know that justice is a way of ruling, a way of coexistence of communities. It has a couple of parameters. These are at least 4 parameters. One of them, fair and free elections. We have been doing our best to ensure such elections. Secondly, free mass media and the freedom of speech. The third dimension, of course, is market economy. And last but not least, the rule of law. I would say that the rule of law is the most important feature of a community claiming to be a democratic one. Unless there is the rule of law in place, we can hardly ensure conditions and conducive environments for investments. We can hardly encourage entrepreneurs to make efforts in order to ensure a better quality of life in this country. Unless there is a rule of law, we can hardly have the feeling of communities coexisting in an atmosphere, in an environment of mutual confidence. I very much hope that our discussion will be beneficial, will be successful. We, the National Assembly, are open to inviting experts, professionals. In addition, our doors are open also to non-governmental organizations, to citizens. We do so because we want to hear their voice. We know that the Justice for All initiative has set itself a very ambitious goal regarding the judicial reform. I believe that all of us will be listening to these proposals with the greatest interest. I very much hope for an effective and efficient debate. Thank you. We also thank you, Mr. Ivanov. I would now like to give the floor to the Minister of Justice, Mr. Hristo Ivanov. We're very honored to have the Minister with us today. Thank you. I'm attending this forum in order to extend my gratitude to the Justice for All initiative and to the Bulgarian National Assembly for ensuring yet another discussion on the judicial reform topic. We are indeed at a turning point along the way of making all these efforts aimed at the judicial reform. At the beginning of our term of office, this did not seem quite feasible. We did have a constitutional initiative. It started on the basis of a draft law ensuring conditions for reforming the Supreme Judicial Council. This is a very important step. The draft law has already been through a first reading, and it lays the foundation for increasing, enhancing the independence of courts. You know how important the independence of courts it is in the context of a democratic society. It is very important that this draft law goes through its parliamentary reading without stepping back from the safeguards concerning the independence. There is a group of proposals that were taken out, that dropped out of the group of proposals. Some of these have been included in the proposals tabled by the Justice for All initiative. The consultation so far with various parliamentary groups show that we are ready to also discuss a part of these proposals. This is a positive sign. Thirdly, the position of the Venice Commission is yet another very important factor. The Venice Commission has the best expertise in terms of the rule of law in the countries, not only the ones that are members of the Council of Europe. The Venice Commission has strongly supported the judicial reform, the reform of the Supreme Judicial Council. The Commission has substantially supported our efforts aimed at enhancing the constitutional safeguards for our courts. Furthermore, the Venice Commission has very much insisted that we should do more along this this line. The Venice Commission has tabled specific proposals in order for us to go beyond the minimum contained in the draft law that went through its first reading. There are representatives of various political parties in the room. Some of them were involved in drafting this law, others supported it. I would like to call upon all of them to very seriously approach this political fact, namely the support provided by the Venice Commission. These two groups of proposals, in other words, the first reading of the draft law, the proposals that dropped out of the initial range of proposals. What we have now is a number of additional proposals tabled. We, the society, the institutions, should be well aware of how important the moment right now is. These new proposals encompass a much broader range of issues that are relevant to the Bulgarian society. I very much hope that the Bulgarian MPs will have an adequate response to these proposals. What solution the Parliament will reach, it is at the Parliament's discretion, of course. Proposals tabled do provide an opportunity for the Bulgarian Parliament to find a solution and make decisions in order to solve issues that have been pending for years on end. Once again, I would refer to the Venice Commission. The Venice Commission has raised a number of these issues, voting by two-thirds. Voting by two-thirds for members of the Supreme Judicial Council. There is already such a proposal. Another issue raised by the Venice Commission, namely the excessive power in the hands of the Bulgarian Prosecutor's Office. This is an issue according to the Venice Commission. So I would call upon all the institutions that we open our eyes to this particular problem. Proposals have been made, and these proposals offer an opportunity for us to enhance the accountability and efficiency of the Bulgarian Prosecutor's Office. This is a step that we have to take in the name of democracy in Bulgaria, in the name of each and every individual prosecutor, so that prosecutors can work in an environment with a much stronger feeling of empowerment and support from the society. Whether the Parliament will approve and vote all these proposals, this is a different issue. We have to be aware, however, that we cannot close our eyes to these issues. There is a certain feeling of reluctance to get into deep waters. I would like to thank Mr. Ivan Ivanov, the Deputy Speaker, and the Bulgarian Parliament as a whole for the initiative, for allowing us to discuss this very important topic on the territory of the Bulgarian Parliament. We, the society, must find an answer to this topic. Mr. Ivanov has raised the issue regarding the Judicial System Act, the new drafts law. We are awaiting the amendments to the Constitution that will be passed. Based on this, depending on this, we will proceed with the Judicial System Act. Next week we have scheduled two discussions with our colleagues from the judiciary on the topics of competitions and appraisal. These are two very important topics that are pertinent to the quality of our judiciary. Thank you very much for the discussion organized, for the step taken. I look forward to the discussion. Thank you, Minister. It is the appropriate time for us to tell you a little bit more about our good selves. I'm Miroslava Petrova. I will be moderating this meeting. As for the initiative and introducing the initiative, Petromir Kanchev will be presenting our initiative. You have the floor, Mr. Kanchev. Thank you. Thank you to all the participants. I'm very happy to have been able to organize this meeting or roundtable in the National Assembly. It is a meeting in particular for the sake of the Bulgarian MPs who are honored to vote these particularly important amendments to the Bulgarian Constitution. Amendments important both for practicing jurists and for the citizens who need justice. The Justice for All initiative is not an NGO, it is not a foundation, an association or a community center. We're not involved in this type of activities. Our members are Bulgarian citizens, Bulgarian artists, Bulgarian professionals. By and large, these are Bulgarian nationals who have experience in the area of law. Due to this expertise, we've been able to draft 7 proposals. We do hope and we do believe that if these proposals are taken into account and passed in the Bulgarian Parliament, this will open the way forward to the judicial reform. Let me say a few words about our initiative. Our initiative was set up under a specific law in Chapter 3. It is the Citizen Participation in State and Local Government Act. This is an instrument whereby citizens can advance proposals to the central authorities. Proposals of national relevance. This is done by means of a list of signatures by citizens. We have chosen the option of having this list with signatures in parallel with an awareness-raising campaign. The law obliges us to do so. We have chosen 7 major cities with courts of appeal. We've already conducted meetings in these cities. We've had meetings with the local communities and the local mass media in order to inform them about these 7 proposals. Signatures were gathered across the whole country. We already have the list with all the signatures, and we are ready to submit the list to the National Assembly. Let me tell you who is behind this Justice for All initiative. Let me tell you who is not behind the initiative. No political parties, no NGOs, no associations. Any person who has joined our initiative participates just as an ordinary citizen, irrespective of their professional activities or professional background. Such a citizen does not commit his participation depending on their professional background or any political affiliation. Why have we set up this initiative? I'm referring once again to Article 52 of the Citizen Participation in State and Local Government Act. The National Assembly, after receiving the 7 proposals, is obliged by the law to review them, to consider them, and come up with some comments, a kind of feedback explaining why the proposals have been taken into consideration or why not, what are their arguments. So the overall procedure is well regulated by law. This tool is a very strong one. It has been underused so far, regrettably. However, the development of the civil society requires that these forms that are a kind of a referendum should be made better use of. The initiative was set up on the 6th of September of this year. You know what date the 6th of September is. Those of you who know Bulgarian history know that the Act of the Reunion is not due to Bulgarian politicians, but it is due to the efforts of the Bulgarian citizens. We're now preparing the list with all the signatures. This meeting is also a part of the information campaign. So we intend to submit the list with the signature just before the second reading of the draft amendments, so that the MPs would be well informed about the public opinion. Hopefully our view will also be taken into consideration. Our view will be presented today. The next item on our agenda is the issues of the judiciary. Lubomir-Ovjijski, who is a member of our initiative, will be making the presentation. Lubomir-Ovjijski, Justice for All Initiative. I've been a member of this initiative ever since it was set up. I'm one of the lawyers. What have we managed to do over this 1 year? As Pepe has said, we have gathered quite a few citizens with different professional backgrounds, actors, athletes, journalists. I kindly thank Mrs. Malev for joining us. The majority, half of us are lawyers, and most of us were practicing lawyers. We are being confronted with the issues of the judiciary on a daily basis. One of the most serious problems to be resolved has been identifying the problems, analyzing these problems. We did know that there are deficiencies, drawbacks in the judiciary. Hence our idea was identifying these drawbacks and making proposals in order for the system to be much better reformed. We do need a much deeper reform, unlike what has been happening during the last 20 years. I'm going to present the deficiencies of the Bulgarian judiciary that we have identified. We have grouped them into two: independence of the judiciary and independence of the Supreme Judicial Council being the supreme authority. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, the drawbacks within the prosecutor's office, the efficiency of the prosecutor's office. As the minister has rightly pointed out, the topic of the prosecutor's office has not been opened for debate over the last 20 years. What you can see on the screen are the Supreme Judicial Councils in European countries, of course the European countries that have such bodies. Our idea was to show that the Bulgarian Judicial Council is the most politicized one compared to any other similar council. The Supreme Judicial Council has a parliamentary quota. Only Belarus has such a quota. It is not a member of the EU and it doesn't set an example in terms of democracy. So Belarus ranks first 50%, Bulgaria ranks second 50%, the parliamentary quota. So in addition to the 11 representatives in the Supreme Judicial Council, there are another 3 major figures also elected by the Supreme Judicial Council, but these are not political nominations. Hence a total of 14 out of the total of 25 members of the Supreme Judicial Council are political persons. Romania in 2004 carried out a reform in the judiciary. So 14 magistrate quota, 9 judges, 5 prosecutors and 2 from the Romanian Parliament. Similarly, Italy and France, the Supreme Judicial Council has 16 to 8, two-thirds of two-thirds judges and prosecutors. Yet another interesting fact: Bulgaria is the only country which out of the 4 countries that have prosecutors as members of the Supreme Judicial Council, the only country where prosecutors can have a say on human resources in judges. France, Italy and Romania have the 2 sections within the Supreme Judicial Council, so prosecutors are not involved in electing judges for the courts. This is very important characteristic. So only 4 bodies that have prosecutors as members. Bulgaria is the only country where prosecutors have a say on selecting and electing judges. Next, I've already referred to the very high level of political nominations. We very much hope that the draft law will change this situation. 5 judges, 5 magistrates, designating 1 delegate for the National Assembly, electing the members of the Supreme Judicial Council. This is a way of lobbying. In other words, the administrative head of a larger prosecutor's office, for example, the Sofia Regional Prosecutor's Office or the Plovdiv Prosecutor's Office, these 2 prosecutors, if they are politically dependent and God forbid if they are corrupt, they can exert pressure so that all the 4 prosecutors designated will come from their prosecutor's office to become members of the Supreme Judicial Council. Romania has overcome this issue. It was resolved back in 2004. There have been questions, why are we comparing with Romania all the time? Why shouldn't we compare Bulgaria with Romania? We have been witnessing the results achieved by Romania since 2004. Romania had a similar starting point in terms of the state of affairs in the economy, the state of affairs in terms of corruption. So Romania has been successful with the judicial reform. This is the Romanian Supreme Judicial Council, 5 prosecutors, members, 9 judges, 2 from the parliamentary quota. In parallel, you can see how each and every instance, regional prosecutors, district prosecutors' offices can designate members for the Supreme Judicial Council. Direct voting, this is a way to avoid lobbying with the Supreme Judicial Council, which is different from the current situation in Bulgaria. Yet another development. We need a very clear procedure for withdrawing members of the Supreme Judicial Council, once again referring to Romania. The Romanian law on magistrates and on the Supreme Judicial Council stipulates that the same General Assembly shall have the powers to both appoint and release members of the Supreme Judicial Council. Bulgaria does not have such a procedure in place. The procedure as laid down in the Judicial System Act is not clear enough. Due to this unclear procedure, the Supreme Judicial Council cannot pronounce, cannot decide on the substance in terms of releasing a member. A couple of other facts. 6%, this is the level of confidence in the prosecutor's office, 18% confidence in the judicial system. This is according to Eurostat data. 6% confidence, this is Alpha Research results. As regards Romania, 48% confidence in the judiciary. After the judicial reform, an increase by several times. the results achieved by Romania hopefully will be achieving the same results and will be catching up with Romania. Over the last 2 years, one single prime minister convicted, 4 ministers, 18 MPs, 45 directors of public institutions and 42 mayors. Furthermore, some arguments presented by the Prime Minister, this is a way for the Romanian prosecutor's office to settle the account with the opposition. We don't agree with this, as the persons convicted come both from the ruling party and from the opposition. Maybe you remember when Monica Macovei was invited to visit Bulgaria to tell us the story about the judicial reform. Some people were reluctant with respect to the story told. In Bulgaria, there are 3,000 staff of the prosecutor's office. In Romania, 3,006. Given the fact that the Romanian prosecutor's office has crimes registered by 3 times more, the territory of Romania is by far larger and the number of the population is by far larger. The Bulgarian prosecutor's office has by 2 times more prosecutors per capita compared to the EU average. You can see that the prosecutor's office is overstaffed, and nevertheless they are not able to cope with the criminality rates in Bulgaria. Data from the last 2 years, some serious data provided by the mass media, information about the fact that the Prosecutor General has been designated by the Prime Minister. Not to speak of lobbyists. The prosecutor's office used for declaring Katebe Bank insolvent. We remember what happened. We remember that the headquarters of the bank were broken into by the special forces. A couple of days later, the bank declared insolvency. And it turned out that this came as a result of a major corruption scheme. Investigating journalists who are investigating NGOs but not corruption. All of us are aware of this reality. The reasons are that the Supreme Judicial Council is politicized, the prosecutor's office is over-dependent in political terms. In addition, it is too centralized. The next 2 slides show that the prosecutor's office is centralized and why it shouldn't be centralized. The only other prosecutor's office similar is the Russian one. Let me read something very interesting that we found in the Russian Constitution, Article 129. The prosecutor's office of the Russian Federation is a central and uniform structure. The prosecutors are accountable to the Prosecutor General. Article 136 of the Judiciary Act of Bulgaria has more or less done a copy-paste. The prosecutor's office is uniform and centralized, and all the prosecutors are accountable to the Prosecutor General. This is a very important issue. We know well enough that the administrative heads can influence the investigations, the prosecution conducted by prosecutors. They have the right to assign cases, they have the right to revoke, to repeal acts issued by prosecutors, and so on and so forth. And all of these come as a result of this copy-paste from the Russian Constitution. Hence, our prosecutor's office is the Wyszynski type of a prosecutor's office. We've been lobbying for this situation to change in order for the prosecutor's office to become efficient. Therefore, it is very important, in order to eliminate the centralized feature, to delete this Article 136 para 2, as well as other articles pursuant to which the superior prosecutor has the powers to take over the investigation and the prosecution from the junior prosecutor. A special opinion by a Bulgarian prosecutor in relation to a specific case, quoting the Criminal Code of Procedure, two terms have not been specified, methodological guidance and supervision. The content of these two powers can hardly be deducted from the Judicial System Act. The Constitutional Court refused to interpret what methodological guidance means, hence it is still unclear. However, it provided a broad basis so that the power of the Prosecutor General would be unlimited and out of any control. This is why we do believe that administrative heads, superior, senior prosecutors shouldn't have the powers to influence any prosecution and investigation. Let me tell you what is not happening in other countries. France, Romania. Once again, Romania as an example, following the 2004 reform. The director of the Anti-Corruption Directorate, the DNA Directorate, the director of DNA has the status of a first deputy prosecutor general. However, the director of DNA is entirely independent in the investigations conducted. Yet another achievement that Mrs. Monica Makovej referred to, we specifically asked her about the powers of senior prosecutors. Mrs. Makovej said that she is surprised that this hadn't yet been done in Bulgaria. Article 64 of the Romanian law on magistrates, the ordinary prosecutors are entirely independent of their superiors. In case a superior interferes in their investigation, they can file a complaint with the Supreme Judicial Council. The Supreme Judicial Council shall set up a committee to investigate the relevant case. Superior prosecutors cannot interfere by submitting written instructions. They cannot take away the case. There are only three major assumptions. If the prosecutor has been absent for more than 30 days, if the prosecutor is absent for 3 days but urgent measures are needed, only in such emergencies the case can be transferred to another prosecutor. Why is this important? If we assume that you are a prosecutor from a regional prosecutor's office involved in a high-profile investigation case, for example, the KTB Bank case, and you're an honest and capable prosecutor, you've been conducting the investigation for a year and a half, and it is at a point in time your superior, the superior prosecutor, can take away the case from you and hand it over to another prosecutor for obvious reasons. It is not by chance that in Romania this cannot happen. It is only in extreme cases that a superior prosecutor or the prosecutor general can intervene. We want this to be done in Bulgaria as well. Last week I visited Paris. It was a working visit. I had a meeting with the Deputy Prosecutor General of the Paris Appeal District. There are 35 Prosecutor Generals for all the regions. There isn't one single Prosecutor General in France. There is a Minister of Justice. However, the Minister of Justice does not have the powers to intervene in their cases. I asked the Deputy Prosecutor General, do you have the competence, the powers to intervene in cases conducted by other prosecutors? When the gentleman heard this question, he looked at me rather surprised and said, no, this cannot happen. We don't have the right to intervene in the case, in the investigation on the merits. Administrative heads cannot do this either. Firstly, this is not possible. Secondly, they perceive this as something absurd. I'm sorry for taking more of your time and for speaking long. I also thank you. As you know, the Justice for All national initiative was established on the 6th of September 2015 in the city of Plovdiv. Last but not least, I'm going to give the floor to our chairperson, the chairperson of the Justice for All initiative. We are the authors, the ones that have submitted the 7 proposals to the National Assembly. I give the floor to Velislav Velichkov, who will be presenting the 4 key ideas that we have come up with. Your Excellencies, Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, members of the Parliament, Minister of Justice, representatives of legal organizations, we're very grateful to you for attending our round table. This is a very important discussion. We are at the final stage of a long way of 9 months. Our efforts started before the visit of Mrs. Monica Macovei. We presented 6 ideas. We have added another 7th one after Mrs. Macovei's visit. As Mr. Ivanov has pointed out, a part of the initial proposals have dropped out. However, we considered that these proposals are important and we added them once again to the whole package of proposals. The MPs attending the forum are well familiar with our proposals. I will be briefly presenting them. These proposals fall into 2 groups. The reform concerning the prosecutor's office, the only reform that has not happened during the last 20 years, the only law enforcement body that has not been reformed in Bulgaria after the year 1989. The debate covering the systemic problems of the judiciary should encompass all its aspects. We know that the prosecutor's office plays a very important role in terms of law enforcement. 3 of our proposals concern the structure and the functioning of the prosecutor's office. Article 126, the amendments to the article, the methodological guidance by the prosecutor's office should be deleted. don't want to repeat what my colleague has said. Pursuant to the Bulgarian constitutions, the Bulgarian magistrates shall issue their acts based on their conviction and their discretion. In case someone issues methodological guidance or instructions regarding the pre-trial stage, then we cannot speak of any internal conviction as a driving force in the decisions made by the prosecutor. Regrettably, at present, this is the reality within the Bulgarian prosecutor's office. The second proposals. In order for the prosecutors to be competent and independent, we insist on introducing the position of a prosecutor general, an anti-corruption deputy prosecutor general. We know that the prosecutor general cannot cover the whole range of issues. For prosecutors, prosecutor generals have changed, however, the situation has not changed. Therefore, if the system were indeed that good, after all these 25 years, we would be having different results right now. This Deputy Prosecutor General for Anti-Corruption should be elected by the Supreme Judicial Council, appointed and released by the Supreme Judicial Council. However, this Deputy Prosecutor General must be independent from the Prosecutor General so that he or she can have competencies to press charges, including against prosecutors and the Prosecutor General. Thirdly, reducing the duration of the term of office of the Prosecutor General. This rather long term of office was maybe based on the outdated perception, the perception of the socialist times. This duration of the term of office, namely 7 years, is too long. It can serve one sole purpose, undermining the prestige of the judiciary. We do believe that the term of office, the duration should be reduced from 7 down to 5 years. Moreover, the Supreme Judicial Council, in case there are findings proving action in bad faith or inaction, the Council should have the right to propose even releasing the Prosecutor General from function. Nowadays, the Prosecutor General is outside of any control. Therefore, we can end up in a situation where the Prosecutor General can act to their discretion in the course of 7 years. Reducing the parliamentary quota, yet another proposal. This has not been tabled for the second reading. However, the situation with the Supreme Judicial Council is not normal, namely 11 out of 22 are representatives within the parliamentary quota. The political class, through the 11 representatives, keeps the judiciary under control in a way or another, which is contrary to our constitution. We support what has been proposed, namely that the Supreme Judicial Council should have 2 sections, prosecutors and judges, so that prosecutors shouldn't be involved in electing judges and vice versa. it is only the judges that should be able to elect judges for the Supreme Court of Cassation. The same goes for the prosecutors. The prosecutors shouldn't have the right to designate members of the Supreme Court, as we know that the judges and the prosecutors are on the two sides of the barricade in the courtroom. Open voting on any issues regarding human resources. We are happy that there are 10 MPs attending this meeting. We are very happy that they have reached to the point where they believe that each and every member of the Supreme Judicial Council should bear their personal responsibility and accountability for the acts voted. Last but not least, a proposal concerning Article 126 about appeals against administrative acts. There are some exceptions right now. We think that there shouldn't be any exceptions. The administrative acts affect directly the Bulgarian citizens. Hence, each and every Bulgarian citizen should have the opportunity to appeal against an administrative act by court. We know what the situation right now is, and this has to be changed. There shouldn't be any exceptions in terms of the administrative acts that can be appealed by citizens. These are our proposals. 6 of them have already been submitted to the National Assembly. Thank you to the MPs who have had the courage to support the submission of these proposals. We're very happy that the debate has already started. We call upon everybody to get actively involved in a very delayed debate delayed by 15 years. Unless justice is up and running and operational in a state, I think that nothing else can be operational. Thank you, Velislav. As you can see, one of the best qualities of the like-minded members of our initiative is that we're always open in speaking on such relevant topics. Having said this, I would like to invite you to proceed with the next item on our agenda, namely the discussion. We have the following idea about this discussion: contributions within 3 up to 4 minutes. I kindly ask you to abide by the time limit. Maybe we should be starting with the MPs attending this forum, representatives of the institutions, representatives of professional organizations, non-governmental organizations, representatives of the EU member states that have paid due respect to our meeting. Last but not least, the mass media. Of course, the mass media can also get involved and ask questions. Kindly ask you to introduce yourself. Slavov, the Union of Jurists in Bulgaria. Thank you, Mr. Slavov, for attending. Thank you for the invitation. Esteemed Speaker of the National Assembly, Minister, Your Excellencies, Members of Parliament, magistrates, colleagues. I'd like to start by congratulating the Justice for All initiative. Within a very short period of time, you have done a lot of work. What worries me, and this is why I'm directly raising the issue, are the representatives of the Supreme Judicial Council invited? Yes, we have invited the Supreme Judicial Council. We have invited the Prosecutor General. Are there prosecutors attending? There are no prosecutors. Not to speak of investigating police officers. Investigating police officers are usually not allowed to attend such fora. I've had had several meetings with the Ministry of Interior to discuss this topic. This year we are marking 15 years of restoring the so-called police investigation. This has not been commented, however. Strasbourg has made comments regarding some systemic problems. These 7 proposals seem to be rather focused on the prosecutor's office. I think that we also need to focus on Bulgarian courts. There are serious problems with the Bulgarian courts, and we seem to be overlooking them. Let me say a few words about the prosecutor's office. You have referred to Romania. 2004, all the changes that took place in Romania, the judges' salaries in the Supreme Court were raised to be higher than the salary of the Romanian president. 7,000 Bulgarian left. This is the initial salary of a judge in a regional court. The chief inspector and his deputy visited Bulgaria last week. I asked what the salary is. 8,000 euros per month. This is just for your information. The Constitution contains 2 articles that are directly relevant to the prosecutor's office and the issues you have raised. 117, paragraph 2. The juries, prosecutors, judges, investigators shall abide by the law in performing their function. All of them are subject to the law. Furthermore, the Prosecutor General shall exercise oversight over lawfulness and shall issue instructions to all the prosecutors. Given these 2 texts in the Constitution, you have referred to the Judicial System Act, the definition of the prosecutor's office, the copy-paste from the Russian Constitution, the subordination within the system. What you have also referred to about cases, taking a case from a prosecutor and assigning it to another prosecutor. I think that it is very easy to manipulate investigations within the prosecutor's office by assigning a case to a specific prosecutor. Therefore, I think that the now effective Constitution does allow us to ensure the decentralization of prosecutors' offices. The purpose would be for each and every prosecutor to work independently. You remember the case with President Clinton and the prosecutor involved. Maybe this is what we should be aiming at. So I once again reiterate that we need a stronger focus on courts. In recent times, we have been making some proposals regarding the Bulgarian courts. We will end up with this idea. You know what the Supreme Judicial Council has been saying recently, namely 182 courts in Bulgaria. This is too high a number, excessive workload. I know at least of 2 drafts that have not produced any effect with respect to assessing the workload, the burden in the various courts. The Supreme Judicial Council is now hesitating as to which of the regional courts should be closed down. I don't know how long their hesitations will last. I've always been saying that our proposals, the proposals of our union, might result in reducing the judicial budget by a quarter. Probably the Minister of Finance would be the only one to be happy with this. Some statements have been made according to which 182 courts are too many. There is delayed justice. However, we've had the three-instance system for quite a long time. We have two Supreme Courts that are overburdened. Let me tell you that a judge in a civil or commercial division decides on between 200 and 300 cases per year. We think that the solution is the following. We should go back to the two-instance procedure, uniting the district and the regional courts on the first instance, merging them. Thus we will end up with 50-70 first-instance courts, structures of appeal only 9 the second instance. At present, the Supreme Court has over 80 judges, the other one has about 80 judges. I think that Bulgaria is unique in this respect. I have even advertised an award to go to the person who identifies another similar country in the world. That's the end to my contribution. Thank you very much. Who else would like to intervene? Civil Initiative is the organizer of this meeting. Our host is the National Assembly, so feel free to take the floor and to speak up. Let me break this uneasy silence. Emil Georgiev, Center for Modernization of Policies. I'm very happy with this initiative and of course with the proposal summed up by Mr. Lichkov. I was very happy to hear the last proposal, as the last proposal breaks out of reform within which the judicial, the framework within which the reform has been discussed so far. I think that this very last proposal should be supported. There are quite a few laws regulating the supervision over the acts issued. I think that the judicial reform and the justice for all should be an ongoing topic. Hence, I propose that we discuss the following option. When amending the Constitution, the individual complaint before the Constitutional Court as an option should also be considered. It falls slightly outside the judicial reform, as the Constitutional Court is not part of the judiciary. However, this would be important development in terms of fairness and justice and the perception of justice amongst citizens. My idea is that this can be done Constitutional Court. Thus, the citizens, through the Supreme Council of Lawyers, should be able to do this. Mr. Metodi Andreev. What you're doing is very useful. I'm not a lawyer, and I can hardly speak the way you do on this very specific topic. I speak in my capacity of a citizen. What you are proposing is a very serious initiative. I'm saying this as the Bulgarian security is threatened by corruption in this country. We are witnessing what is going on. In order for the fight against corruption to be effective, we need a binary model. What we firstly need is the law. Hopefully, we will be voting this law, firstly. Secondly, a very serious reform of the tools to be used for implementing the law, the prosecutor's office and the court. Unless we have these tools in place, or rather, if the public do not have confidence in these tools, the battle will not be won by the Bulgarian society. Hence, two of the proposals are very important. No methodological guidance and the new position, the Deputy Prosecutor General. It suffices regrettably, in all these years of transition, the Prosecutor General has been beyond any control. The issue is not with the Prosecutor General himself or herself, it is the system in place. As for the fifth proposal, it is very important. Let us assume that we set up the anti-corruption body, appointing the members of the anti-corruption structure, members, so these will be members who have to meet certain standards and requirements. They will bear very high responsibility, and the information gathered by them the day will be reaching the prosecutor's office. The prosecutor that will be in charge of the specific case, will this prosecutor be subject to the same verification? In other words, can we fully trust this prosecutor? The prosecutor should be subjected to the integrity test, similar to the prosecutors who are members of the anti-corruption body. So the same integrity test should be applied with respect to the prosecutors of the anti-corruption body and the prosecutor who conducts the prosecution. By giving the floor to the other MPs, I would like to challenge them. Speaking of the record, in our personal talks, all of you do agree that the system should be depoliticized, firstly, and secondly, the prosecutor's office should be decentralized. However, the arguments you present show that you think that there is insufficient will for this at present. We are now having the historical chance to address some proposals aimed at very serious, drastic changes in the prosecutor's office. How can we find the right way? What we need to do is to directly proceed with radical changes. And one of our purposes is impacting the opened its session on Thursday. We have some concerns that the committee will not accept the proposals concerning the prosecutor's office. So I call upon you to try and persuade, influence your colleagues so that the parliamentary committee would let these proposals be discussed. Thank you for raising this issue. I was about to raise it. Moreover, Mr. Andreev has spoken in the context of the manifesto that our initiative started with. If the esteemed MPs would like to take the floor, or Mr. Kunchev, the Supreme Administrative Court. Mr. Kanev? Yes, you have the floor. Let me skip any formalities, but anyway, I would like to thank the Justice for All initiative, the members of the initiative. Thank you very much for what you've been doing so far. Let me try and present my perspective. I am honored that Mr. Slavov is attending this forum. A person who is the president of the Supreme Administrative Court. I know that we have to pay our due respect to Mr. Savov. I know that Mr. Savov doesn't like this, but Mr. Savov stands very high in the hierarchy. I don't agree with the direction into which Mr. Savov has headed the dialogue. I think that speaking about that we should not combine corruption and the efficiency of the prosecutor's office. What Mr. Savov has said is more or less the following. If we split the Supreme Judicial Council into two sections, shall we thus speed up proceedings? Probably the answer is no. Based on my experience as a practicing lawyer and my awareness of what should be done in order to improve the efficiency and expeditiousness of the Bulgarian judiciary, I think that corruption and the efficiency of the judiciary should be two different topics. The state has three major components: safety and security for the nationals, secondly justice, and thirdly public services and management of public resources. As for the third one, in historic terms, it has emerged much later in our historic development. In Bulgaria, the political force and the administration is focused on the third function, the provision of certain public services and managing public resources. As soon as given that we don't have relatively good justice, the management of public resources results in a relatively poor quality of public services and, of course, in thefts. Regrettably, the public debate is mostly based on the low quality of public services and cases of unfair treatment. And thus we reach the point of the reform that has not been completed. Similar to the independence of the court and the efficiency of the prosecutor's office. There is another argument, namely the Bulgarian prosecutor's office became too independent in 1990. That was a reaction to the situation prior to 1990. Each and every person who has impartially followed the destiny of the prosecutor's office before and after 1990 knows that this is not true. The prosecutor's office was rather independent from the central administration till 1990. And it was very dependent on the political bureau of the former Bulgarian Communist Party. The prosecutor's office, in other words, is the legacy of the period prior to 1989. This was also included as a comment in one of the reports by the Venice Commission, and I'm indeed very happy with this finding of the Venice Commission. Why am I thanking the initiative, Justice for All initiative? Why do I think that these 7 proposals are particularly relevant? The judicial reform topic in terms of control and corruption has at the end of the day boiled down to 2 aspects. On the one hand, the draft amendments to the Constitution and follow-up amendments to the Judicial System Act. I think that if the draft amendments to the Constitution are not passed and are not approved in the second reading, this will be creating problems for further development. We know that we need a more independent court, more public control on the prosecutor's office, enhanced decentralization, I would also add high-quality anti-corruption legislation at the administrative level, at the level of independent bodies and regulators. Yet another view regarding a more radical development, a constitutional reform of the prosecutor's office, namely a reform at the constitutional level from the point of view of irreversibility and stability. We know that there has been a debate over the last 20 years. This debate started after the first year of the term of office of the former Prosecutor General, Mr. Filchev. Judging by this open debate, we know well enough that the change has not been implemented by means of changing the legislation. I think that one single failure in decentralizing the prosecutor's prosecutor's office is sufficient for a large-scale mass media campaign. Therefore, I think that the constitutional topic should not be underestimated. Secondly, the so-called Romanian anti-corruption model. We have to take into account the deficiencies of the Romanian model. It is far from being perfect. Moreover, it is used in pre-election campaigns. Everybody who have been following Romanian politics know this. What way shall we be following from now on? Why am I not optimistic in terms of the more expeditious path? You know that the slower path to be followed was not approved, and you know that minorities within the Bulgarian Parliament supported such a development. The minorities of MPs ensured the constitutional aspects in the first readings. I'm referring to previous draft laws. There is yet another reason. All the parliamentary groups, including our parliamentary group, are having some fears and concerns when we address the prosecutor's office topic. There are fears in terms of abuses by the prosecutor's office. We should not forget that we're not living in a parallel reality. We know what the corruption levels in the judiciary are. Unless you fear prosecutors, you should be fearing journalists. And you know that journalists very often act as a deterrent, and this is typical for the whole democratic world, not only for Bulgaria. There is yet another consideration. Maybe we, the MPs from the Reformers bloc, and you, the representatives of civil organizations, we have excessively related this cause to our good selves. We have to bear in mind that we won't be probably the ones to be commended for the victory if the victory is achieved. It is, however, very important to ensure that this debate takes place. Thanks to your proposal, thanks to our signatures, we have allowed this. We very much hope that the debate in the second reading will be successful, at least partially successful. However, even if the debate is not partially successful, it will contribute to further developments. We shouldn't underestimate the PR effects. Some people have concerns with respect to the mass media. They're even afraid of the mass media. The debate will produce a very beneficial effect, namely substantially speeding up the reform process. Thank you, Mr. Kanev. All of us know how important this topic is. We have invited everybody to take part. We have duly informed informed the Venice Commission, we have duly informed the Supreme Court of Cassation, the Prosecutor General, the Supreme Administrative Court, the Union of Jurists. Some of the institutions that are not represented, we have received their apologies. Mr. Gunchev, the Union of Judges, Mr. Gunchev would like to take the floor. Good morning, good afternoon to everybody. Even though I'm a judge sitting on the Supreme Administrative Court, I'm not speaking in that capacity. I'm speaking in my capacity of a member of the Board of Directors of the Union of Judges. What is now happening in our Parliament in relation to constitutional amendments is a dream of ours coming true. We started making these proposals some 7 or 8 years ago. Of course, we do support this constitutional reform, being fully aware of the following. If the second reading is successful, even if it is we achieve success, we are well aware of the need for political compromises. What do we insist on? We insist on what the Venice Commission has raised as issues. The cornerstone in this reform is splitting the Supreme Judicial Council into 2 sections. Furthermore, providing the members of the Council with more powers. I would like to, however, launch an appeal. The amendments to the Judicial System Act seem to be entirely dependent on the constitutional majority and the amendments to the Constitution that will be passed. We think that the amendments to the Judicial System Act do not depend on the amendments to the Constitution. I'm well familiar with the draft of the Judicial System Act, as I was a member of the working group. Disciplinary proceedings, competitions, career development, appraisal, these are very relevant issues in the draft law. We think that the new draft law and the amendments therein do not depend on the constitutional amendments, and we need a much less majority in order for these amendments to be passed. I have the feeling that in all these transition years, in all these years of judicial reform, have not taken us to a point where we can say that we're happy with our achievements. The division of powers is a sacred principle. If we can imagine the interaction between the powers, this is very similar to a chair with 3 legs. If one leg is missing, the chair cannot properly stand on the floor. So I wish the best of success to you, the MPs. It all depends on you, namely ensuring the necessary majority in relation to substantial constitutional amendments, as well as laying a focus on the amendments to the Judicial System Act. Thank you, Mr. Kunchev, for observing the time allocated. We've already run out of time. We have a couple of minutes left. Of course, we will allow the journalists attending this forum to ask questions. I have a question to Mr. Dankonev. I was very carefully listening to your contribution. Petya Vladimirova, I am a journalist, the Dnevnik website. What I understand from what you've said is that the ongoing debate, the proposals for the second reading, the proposals tabled by the civil initiative, most probably will not be approved in the second reading. You have referred to this attempt as a revolutionary one. You have referred to fears and concerns. You have also said that the tribute will not go to you if victory is achieved. Could you please make a comment? Those who are afraid of the prosecutor's office and those who will not allow this victory right now, when will these people allow the victory? At what point in the future? Do you, as an MP, accept governance within which there are untouchable persons who are not willing to prosecute their good selves? We're now living in an environment with an unprecedented scandal, namely the Prosecutor General is in a situation where he has to prosecute his good self. Of course, he won't be doing it. How long will this be lasting? How long will this process take? What is your idea about the time frame? The time frame for changing the status quo. It is an absurd status quo, or at least it would be perceived as absurd in another state. Thank you for speaking that long. No, you were very precise in your contribution, the moderator said. Thank you. I will be very brief in my answer, and I won't be very optimistic in my response. I won't be optimistic, as there is nothing optimistic in the current situation. There isn't a single democratic and good and generous option for reforming the judiciary. I have studied in depth this topic. In historic terms, it is only undemocratic regimes that have managed to do this successfully. The Bulgarian society does not have the necessary personalities that can guarantee the process. The process of conducting the operation of clean hands. Given the current environment, including the mass media environment, speaking about fast results or short-term results, we can only hope for an upsurge in our society. The judicial reform is a priority topic on the agenda of the society. However, the debate is not that active. You remember what happened when Mr. Deliampevsky was elected to be the chairperson of the State Agency for National Security. So during the last 2 years, we have been moving much faster. Ever since the very first day of the term of office of this Parliament, I was not very optimistic. I was not optimistic in terms of radical reforms. What is now happening is beyond our expectations. The situation is unbearable. We all of us know this. If we are not prepared for revolutionary efforts, it means, it implies just being outside the framework. Who else would like to ask a question? I apologize, but I have to leave because I have a meeting outside the building in 10 minutes. Thank you very much for inviting me, and we also thank you for attending. The journalist, would you like to ask other questions? If there are no further questions, I think we can call it a day and we can close our meeting. Luba, would you like to take a minute? A question to Mr. Kanev. We don't agree that it is only by means of radical, drastic measures that the reform can take place. I don't agree with this argument. This is why we've been quoting Romania as an example. This might be getting on your nerves, but Romania sets a very good example. A Ministry of Justice, with the support of a part of the opposition, has managed to carry out the reform. I kindly ask you to be humble enough and to read what happened in Romania in 2004. Please do take a look at the laws passed in Romania in 2004, and all of these are due to the parliamentary initiative, or rather the initiative supported by the Romanian Parliament. Mr. Velichkov, a few final concluding words. I would like to thank everybody attending this forum. We've heard a lot about fear and concern, but I think that this concerns those who are not attending. The Supreme Judicial Council has been invited, even the spokesperson has been invited. However, they even refused to take part. The presidents of the Supreme Court, the Prosecutor General, all of the 240 MPs have been invited. Only 10 of them have attended the forum. They're afraid not only of listening to you and being heard, but they're even afraid of attending. We have been waiting for 25 years. All of us have a high responsibility before the Bulgarian citizens. Those who have laid their signatures on our list, these are people who want this reform to happen. When we reach the point for the Constitutional Committee to have its discussion, all of the proposals related to the chapter on the judiciary in the Constitution, please kindly ask them not to confuse law with the Constitution. I very much hope that no deals will be struck when we discuss justice. This should not happen. This should not happen within the Bulgarian Parliament. The debate must take place. Whether it will be taking place within the Parliament or outside the Parliament is for us to see. Thank you. I also thank everybody attending. The attendance of all of you has been highly appreciated. I call upon you to visit our website. I kindly ask all of you leaving this conference room to put a badge on.